It started with a request that, on paper, sounded simple. A private meeting, a father and son, a chance to speak face-to-face after years of public fractures. But there was one detail attached to that request that reportedly changed everything. And the moment palace insiders heard it, the mood shifted. Because this wasn't just about reconciliation. It was about who would be watching. And more importantly, who would be filming. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle are once again at the centre of a growing royal storm after reports surfaced that the couple wanted a meeting with King Charles III during their next return to the UK. But according to insiders, there was a condition. A condition that allegedly left the king stunned. And if the reports are true, it may have closed a door many thought was finally about to reopen. For months, speculation has been building over whether Harry's relationship with his father had softened. Not healed, but softened. After all, the last few years have been brutal. The explosive interviews. The Netflix series. The release of Spare. Each one peeling back layers of royal life that the palace had spent decades protecting. And each one widening the distance between Harry and the firm. Especially with Prince William. But this time felt different. Sources had been whispering that Harry wanted to rebuild. That with King Charles facing ongoing health concerns, time suddenly felt more urgent. More fragile. There were even reports Meghan was preparing for her first extended UK appearance in years. That alone was enough to spark headlines. Because Meghan's relationship with the royal institution has remained deeply frozen since stepping back in 2020. So when talk began of a possible private sit-down with the king, many thought this might be the turning point. Until one hidden layer surfaced. And it changed the entire meaning of the request. According to multiple royal commentators, Harry and Meghan allegedly wanted Netflix documentation tied to their UK visit. Not just general filming. Access. Presence. Possibly even during family interactions. Now pause there. Because this is where everything becomes complicated. For Harry and Meghan, media documentation has become part of their brand. Their deal with Netflix transformed their personal lives into global content. Their 6-part documentary became one of the platform's biggest conversation drivers, exposing intimate details of royal life from their perspective. So from a business standpoint, bringing cameras may seem normal. Expected even. But from the palace's point of view, that's an entirely different story. This is the same institution built on controlled privacy. On silence. On carefully managed appearances. And if there's one thing Buckingham Palace has never tolerated, it's private family matters becoming commercial entertainment. Especially after what happened before. Remember, Harry's memoir didn't just reveal emotional pain. It revealed private conversations. Arguments. Text messages. Even personal tensions with William and Catherine. That broke an unspoken royal code. A code many insiders say still hasn't been forgiven. So when reports emerged that Harry's camp allegedly wanted any reunion tied to Netflix involvement, palace alarm bells reportedly went off immediately. Not because of the meeting itself, but because of what it could become. Content. And then came the twist nobody expected. It wasn't just a no. According to royal insiders, it was a firm rejection. King Charles reportedly refused the condition entirely. No cameras. No production team. No documentary angle. If there was going to be a conversation, it would happen in private, or not at all. That's the part that shifted public perception. Because suddenly this wasn't about whether Charles wanted to see his son. It became about whether Harry and Meghan were asking for reconciliation. Or materials. And that question has split royal watchers right down the middle. Some argue Harry is simply living in a world where transparency matters. That documenting his truth has been his way of reclaiming control. Others see something darker. That every royal interaction now risks becoming monetized. And here where it gets even more delicate. King Charles has reportedly been trying to stabilize the monarchy during one of its most fragile periods in modern history. Health concerns, public pressure, questions about succession. And with William increasingly stepping into larger roles, the palace cannot afford another internal spectacle. Especially one with cameras nearby. Because let's be honest, the memory of the Oprah interview still lingers. That interview didn't just shake headlines, it shook trust. And trust in royal circles is currency. Once it's gone, it rarely returns. Meanwhile, Harry's defenders point out something important. He's repeatedly said security remains his biggest issue in returning to Britain. He has argued that private visits without proper arrangements are difficult. Dangerous even. So some believe the Netflix crew narrative may be exaggerated. That perhaps this was never about filming the king directly, but about documenting the trip itself. But palace insiders aren't separating those lines. Not anymore. And maybe that's the real story here. Not the rejection. Not even the request. But the fact that every attempt at contact now comes loaded with suspicion. Every conversation has conditions. Every reunion carries risk. And every gesture is interpreted through the lens of what might be said later, or shown later. That's what makes this moment so unsettling. Because beneath the headlines is something painfully human. A father, a son, a family trying and failing to find neutral ground. And with Charles agging and Harry increasingly distant, the clock isn't slowing down. It's moving faster. Now the question hanging over all of this is simple. Will Harry agree to meet without cameras? Will Charles soften if it stays private? Or has the damage gone too deep for any room to exist without conditions? Because if even a private conversation now feels impossible, what does that say about what's left of this family behind the palace walls?